how's Houston going to be the energy capital of the world if CenterPoint can't keep the lights on?
CenterPoint Energy was clearly exposed for the tragedy during Hurricane Beryl in July of 24.
Everything aligns that the decisions that were made, it was profits over people.
Company executives were publicly flogged by lawmakers who vowed to make sure that stuff would never happen again.
Y'all got caught with your britches down on this.
The lieutenant governor called for CenterPoint's boss, Jason Wells, to resign, and he wasn't the only one.
The board of CenterPoint should ask for Jason Wells' resignation, or I believe he should submit it.
The CenterPoint board of directors tried to evade our questions.
He's sorry? Why is he still working for you?
Board member Raquel Lewis even went so far as to try and wrestle our microphone away.
If you have any interest,
my microphone.
You don't have to be talking to me. If you have any interest
in
my microphone,
to
me.
But now that the legislature is back in session, will Texas lawmakers actually hold CenterPoint's feet to the fire? Change laws to protect us? We're keeping track. Hurricane Beryl was just a Category 1 hurricane, but it was a nightmare for the Houston area. 85%, or 2 million of CenterPoint's customers lost power, some for more than a week. We know that 16 people died due to lack of power, not having air conditioning.
As a Texan born and raised on the coast, I am weary, I'm tired, I'm disappointed, and I'm disgusted.
Businesses lost billions of dollars from the extended outages. But CenterPoint board members, executives, and investors were sitting pretty because of guaranteed rate of returns that come out of your pockets.
And they sat on their butts and didn't do the investment that they needed to do in the nation's, third largest city.
I feel like I've been taken advantage of, to be honest.
Senator Phil King had written a law that was supposed to make it easier for utilities to respond after a big freeze or a hurricane.
CenterPoint saw an opportunity to make money. So instead of spending $5 million, they went out and spent at least $843 million.
And that CenterPoint contract stunk to high heaven because of an apparent relationship between a CenterPoint executive and a woman at the company that provided the generators.
Because that was a insider deal that, in my opinion, with a small company, gal meets CEO at a gym.
The lawmakers piled on during a recent radio show that Paul Betancourt does called The Amigos on AM 700 KSEV.
There was email activity going from the CFO to these people that were bidding. It was just pathetic, to put it mildly.
And I want to say this, they were the only utility in the state of Texas that misused that legislation.
Senate Bill 231 is supposed to make sure there are no further abuses. Future purchases of things like generators will require quick setup, 3 hours tops, competitive bids. What a concept. And pre-approval by the Public Utility Commission before a giant deal like that is signed. The changes should sail through pretty easily. But King says he's also meeting with CenterPoint executives to try and convince them to give that generator money back to you.
We have told them, look, you come in with a plan to sell these generators or lease them to someone else and pay this money back immediately. That's the right way to do it. You do it so we don't have to do it.
After Beryl, Governor Greg Abbott ordered the PUC to investigate the Beryl disaster.
I mean, they're given a monopoly by the state, and they have to take care of their service area.
To fix what went wrong, the report came back with 14 recommendations for utilities, the PUC, and the legislature. Coordination of storm drills, a better outage tracker, because the CenterPoint one absolutely sucked after that hurricane. Ignoring utility lessons.
Outages are no fun.
From a state like Florida.
Especially when you don't understand them.
Really, really made my blood boil that in the middle of a Category 1 storm, I'm hearing, oh, we're going to try out some of this new technology. Well, this technology's already been used for a decade.
Replacing old poles with ones that meet modern standards.
And I've got a piece of legislation this session that is going to help notify customers, the end user, of how we can get that piece of vegetation off those lines.
CenterPoint claimed that most of the outages during Beryl was caused by trees falling on power lines. State Representative Will Metcalf from Conroe has a plan that will help you request the utility clear vegetation that threatens power lines or the poles. There's also a bill filed to do a cost-benefit analysis, what a shock, of burying power lines in major metropolitan areas, which a lot of people think is a great idea. Another bill filed for making our electric grid safer, and not just from the weather, but possible sabotage too. And a bill filed to make sure we get the lights on quicker for hospitals, senior living centers, community centers. But there are key recommendations by the PUC that are still waiting a lawmaker to act that would beef up the punishment for utilities that screw up, a framework and penalty structure to assess service quality during major outage events.
What gets measured gets fixed. We don't have any measurements and any standards on performance. We should have metrics. And more importantly, those metrics have to be set and known to, and then the public needs to be able to respond.
Betancourt says there's a legislative backlog right now, but it's in the works, and he wants to make sure that the standards are set for best practices. As for the penalties, current law has simply no teeth. The PUC writes that penalties are capped at $25,000 per year for a company that's making billions. It's cheaper to pay the penalty than for companies to improve their customer service.
This is the application of CenterPoint Energy Houston Electric LLC for determination of system restoration costs.
While CenterPoint's customers are still feeling overcharged and having bad service, CenterPoint is trying to charge you a bunch more, asking to recover more than $500 million for the damage done to their equipment and power lines from the Houston derecho. And another bad storm we had last May. Consumer groups in the city of Houston said, no way.
14-0. Everyone votes against CenterPoint's application for an increase. 14-0. Motion passes. Next.
The critics say CenterPoint was trying to play a money game. Double count $6 million worth of labor already covered in their bills. One thing is for sure, customers shouldn't have to pay for broken utility poles and meters that should have already been replaced with proper maintenance. And CenterPoint also wants to exclude a $1.3 million return that they got for that stupid investment in unused giant generators. But consumer groups want about $100 million of that request to be disallowed. We'll see.
The parties are happy to report that we believe we have an agreement in principle.
One of the rate cases has been settled in recent days. First time that's happened in like 4 years. CenterPoint has agreed to reduce the rates by $1. CenterPoint promises to be a poster child for electric utility excellence. One catch: we got to give them more money. State Senator Betancourt believes lawmakers have the power to force CenterPoint to be excellent. More money or not.
There's already been progress on winter storms. We've insisted on weatherization, on gas plants. The great news was we went through this last winter storm, and there was always a very comfortable margin of about 10,000 megawatts, and it was great to see those curves.
Can lawmakers really force CenterPoint, this giant, I'll call it a monopoly, to be excellent, so the system doesn't come crashing down with every storm that rolls through? We may have to just experience another hurricane to find out.